things British, but are not quite ready to fly over the pond, I have a treat for you. We will be bringing the UK to LA today. My name is Danny Lillo, and welcome to British Invasion LA, where we'll explore the most intriguing, fascinating, and tantalizing British people and British-owned and inspired places in LA. British Invasion LA. Hello, a very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for taking the time to experience this very special inaugural episode of British Invasion LA. Today we'll be exploring the extraordinary life of Liz Fuller, the Welsh television presenter, actress, model and media personality who is best known for her stunning achievement of being crowned Miss Great Britain. Liz took that one step further and purchased the Miss Great Britain franchise, which she ran for 3 years and sold for a tidy profit. She is presently the founder and operator of the Miss British Empire beauty pageant, and I had the rare pleasure of interviewing her. For someone so glamorous and famous abroad, she moved to the most glamorous of all cities, Hollywood, California. You won't want to miss this interview because you'll learn about a very curious and shocking connection to none other than Mr. George Clooney himself. Let's take a look, shall we? Liz Fuller, welcome to British Invasion LA. It's so wonderful to have you here in the studio.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You've achieved so many incredible accomplishments in your career. I mean, model, television actress, media personality, and owning the Miss Universe franchise. I mean, that's quite fascinating. Tell me more about how it all began. I understand you went to Dumbarton House in Wales. Yeah. What was your experience there?
Okay, well, I am Welsh, so
yes.
That's very different in Britain, isn't it?
Yes,
it's,
yes.
I always think of Wales as like the poor relation to England. But I went to a school called Dumbarton when I was very young, and that's where Rob Brydon and Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Sheen were as well. So it's an incredible school. But my parents divorced early on and I was pulled out of there. So I didn't stay that long. But I did do I did gymnastics and dance and continued that with the Dubensky Stage School, which was often based in Dumbarton as well. So it was a good training ground for preparing you into entertainment. And when I was very young, I mean, you know, these teachers that are so dedicated with dance and drama, you know, like where Catherine Zeta went and where anybody, I guess, who got out of Wales and went into entertainment went, they would speak to you very early on when you're age 10 and kind of say, what field of entertainment do you want to go into? And I actually wanted originally to be a ballet dancer. So I wanted to audition at the age of 9 or 10 for the Northern Ballet School. But my teacher said, no, you're too big boned and you're too tall for that. You're never going to work as a ballet dancer.
So Liz, tell me about your first ever performance.
My first ever performance was hilarious. I was 3 years old and I was about to go on stage to do a tap dance routine. And it was in a place called the Patty Pavilion in Swansea, which is so funny. I love it. I think it's actually an Indian restaurant now. Not like a stage place. But I went on stage and I saw the audience and I was so scared. I literally just ran off the other curtain, the other direction. And that was my first ever performance. So I got on stage, got nervous, saw the crowd and ran off. But, you know, I think my career, since I was very young, I was so used to the rejection at a very early age from not being the ballet dancer to really fighting hard to get auditions and then not getting them. I'm so used to that, and it's in my culture as a teenager that now, you know, coming to LA, it's so easy for me. It's like I was built for it.
Where did it begin for you?
Well, it began because, again, I couldn't go into ballet. So my teacher said, what next would you like to do? And I said, well, I'd like to be a TV presenter. And this was at the age of 13. And my teacher, Wendy Weaver, she said to me, Liz, you're going to have to lose your Welsh accent. So I spent 4 or 5 years in elocution learning Shakespeare. if we shadows have offended, but this and all is mended. So I can quote Shakespeare now because obviously it was drilled into me. But one of my best friends was a model. She was 5'10". I was only about 5'7", 5'8". And she went to meet a photographer. And the photographer said, hey, who's your friend? And he started taking photos of me, sent them to a model agency called Model Academy 1, which was Hilary Boshier-Jones in Cardiff. And then I went to meet her and she wanted me to pay money for a modeling course. And so I went, thank you very much. And I walked out the door. And by the time I got home from Cardiff to Swansea, my mum had had a phone call from her saying, I like her spirit. If she wins Miss Cardiff, she can get the modeling course for free. So I kind of landed, I kind of fell into the beauty pageants. And one of the first pageants I did was Miss Wales, and I came fourth, I think. But I turned up with no makeup on. I turned up with wet ringlety hair, flat shoes, and a surfboard. And so I was on stage and I had no idea what a beauty pageant was, but I looked at all these other girls and it's all about polishing yourself and looking gorgeous and glamorous and wearing the right dress and saying the right thing. And I've now got when I look back, I've got a clip of Miss Wales 1994 and somebody's asking, you know, the lady's asking me, what's your ambition? And I say, oh, I'd love to be a television presenter in it. Oh, I think I said telly-presenter. So when I look back and I think, you know, I was so naive at some of the stuff. It's so funny. You know, it's just been entertainment is a difficult journey. It's a hard journey. Would I do a lot of it again? No. But it's been so much fun.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. You're a well-accomplished lady and well-educated, and you have a degree in journalism, film, and broadcast. It's pretty amazing. How important is education to your life and career?
Well, I was never actually going to do a degree, but my mum is a big feminist and she was against the beauty pageant. So I was always fighting her with that. And I can definitely understand her point of view. But at the same time, being a girl that knew nobody in entertainment, I saw it as a way out. I saw it as a way out of Wales and into a new stratosphere, I guess. And the journalism degree came about because in our family, everybody does a degree. And I didn't just want to be the black sheep of the family. And so we compromised on a certain subject. And because I wanted to go entertainment, journalism, film, and broadcasting for me was that route. But actually, I'm gonna give you a little secret here that nobody knows. When I was at university in Cardiff and I did journalism, I actually went and did work experience at News of the World.
Wow.
And at News of the World, they wanted me to put hidden microphones and things on me and go and catch some of the famous stars, you know, sit down, chat with them and catch them out doing drugs, and I wouldn't do it. And I've never told anybody that. That was my work experience in the journalism world. And the next day I remember after I refused to do that, I went into the office at News of the World and I was told I wouldn't be needed anymore on work experience. So that put me off print journalism. But I don't think I ever wanted to do print journalism anyway.
And your career flourished, so that's good.
And then I just decided, you know, let's concentrate on the TV presenting.
Mm-hmm. Liz, you're a stunning woman. Did that ever pose challenges in your career? Was there ever a moment in your career where you felt like that was an issue?
I think I guess in entertainment, I've always been a little bit naive and I've always believed people. So you turn up at auditions, you turn up for meetings, and you believe that people want the best. And even when you're on set, you know, you suddenly look back and think things can be edited and misconstrued a different way. So you very much have to be alert and know what you're getting into. And I think my career journey has been very difficult. I don't think I've had managers looking after me. And I think in the United Kingdom, we don't really have a separate manager and a separate agent. Whereas when you come to LA, your team very much more will protect you, or at least you hope they do. So you have the separate manager to the agent. And I think when you're climbing the showbiz career ladder in the UK, you don't have that, and you very much learn a lot of lessons as you're going. And I just like to think, you know, I've done everything the best I can and as ethically as I can. And I think that's very important in entertainment world.
Yeah. Well, Liz, you've dated some very interesting men, one of them being the self-help guru and hypnotist Paul McKenna. How is that experience?
Okay, I think Paul McKenna and I only dated for about 3 months, and it's not something I really talk about now, but oh my goodness, I could tell you so much. I really could. But I think when you're somebody that's in front of the camera, you learn very quickly when to not say things. And I don't think I would want... It's what happened. I was very young and naive. I was a shopping TV host at the time. I certainly got into the relationship for the right reasons. We were set up because I'd just written a show called Men and Motors, and I'd introduced a psychologist. I mean, I was the creator of this show, and it was a co-production with me, but I was also the host. And I interviewed a psychologist why people want to put expensive and private number plates on their car, which in America you don't really get, but it's basically a very expensive commercial business. You make a lot of money in the UK, or the DVLA do. And I introduced a psychologist, and then off the camera she said, I'd love to set you up on a blind date because you've got a very alert mind. I was brought up in a family where my aunt was based in Switzerland, and she was one of the 4 leaders on neuro-linguistic programming. So this psychologist said, I think you'd really love the intellect conversations with this guy I'm going to fix you up with. And that guy happened to be Paul McKenna. And we had some very interesting conversations. Now, physically, he's not the kind of guy I would be attracted to. Sorry. But
In case he's watching.
But intellectually, he was. And I think great conversations are definitely what I'm attracted to. But he wasn't the guy I thought he was going into that relationship. And one day I will come out and say what I saw and what I think and what I felt. But now's not that time.
No, that's fine. I have to ask though, did he hypnotize you?
I 100% can't answer that.
Okay.
Because I did sleep in the same bed as him. And I'm somebody that sleeps extremely deep. I'll sleep 8-9 hours and not wake up. But there were times when I did wake up, and you know, he'd be writing little things on a piece of paper next to him. And so when he publicly did say in the newspapers after our relationship, which, you know, it really wasn't on, that he kept going to the papers, and there were photos of me in a swimsuit, you know, in the south of France, which must have been timed because I was only in a bikini for 10 minutes because the weather was terrible. So that paparazzi was really lucky. Do you know what I mean? But he came out in the newspapers and said he did hypnotize me to think he was George Clooney. And I laugh at that. I think, is there any truth in it? And I don't know. Maybe one day I'll be hypnotized again, and maybe we'll find out if it happened.
You've been a commercial model and traveled all over the world, being a brand pillar from everything to clothing to beer. Tell us more about your experiences with Rachel Couture. I heard that you're involved with her lifestyle brands.
Rochelle Elbaz is a French fashion designer. She's actually part of the Azaguri family, which is so well respected in Paris for couture. And she approached me through my publicist to be the face of her perfume. And I simply adore her gowns. So I'm the face of Dream, which is her perfume. And she approached me about being on the London buses, which was the most fun thing. And Dream it's not a perfume I wear every day. I mix between about 4 perfumes. But Dream is actually a perfume that I wear when I'm a bit more serious and I'm the business lady and more of the entrepreneur. So it's a stronger, more grown-up brand. And then the other brands that I wear are a little bit more light and fun and playful.
Fantastic. And is it available in the US yet?
I don't know. I never think about I don't think of the business side. I don't think of the distribution so much. I just want to be the artist and the talent. That's what I do.
It's powerful to know you've achieved so much in your career. Miss Cardiff, Miss Wales, Miss Great Britain, and subsequently purchasing the franchise. And how did you feel about those achievements?
Well, it's funny. Miss Cardiff, I won outright. My history is kind of quite complicated. Miss Cardiff, I won outright at a pageant. Miss Wales Universe, I won I went to the Miss Great Britain headquarters, and there was only a few girls that had entered from Wales. So the Miss Wales Universe title was given to me a little bit too easily, just from, you know, kind of like standing up at the Miss Great Britain with 5 other girls. And they were like, well, she's the Welsh representative for Miss Great Britain. So that title I never actually won at a pageant. And then Miss Great Britain came about. I did it in 96 and I came second to a beautiful girl called Anita St. Rose. And then within 2 months, I got a phone call saying Anita had actually been disqualified and she was released from the competition because she couldn't sign the contract to work with them for the year because she'd signed a music deal and she wanted to be a singer. So I literally took over Miss Great Britain. That title was thrust upon me as the first runner-up. And then I held that title for 1997 because there was no competition. So that's my background to Miss GB. So it's always like, I've always been known as Miss Great Britain, but I was kind of, the title came to me by default.
So that's amazing because we're a country that loves the underdog. And also, wouldn't that make you the longest running title of Miss Great Britain as well?
Technically it did.
Yeah.
So the underdog came through, right? Yay.
Absolutely. You have a very strong commitment to victims of cancer and children that are orphaned. Tell us a bit more about your philanthropy.
I think while I was hosting a TV show called Quiz Call for Channel 5, I was very much aware that I was in the public spotlight and I would always get invited to these glitzy red carpet events. But I went through a phase where I felt it was very empty and full of fake people on a lot of the red carpets. So I wanted to give back and I started supporting some charities and choosing charities. I was lucky enough to go to Lehman Brothers' last Christmas party, probably ever, in London. And I stood up, being that good Welsh girl, when she's drunk and the accent comes out, I stood up on a table and I said, nobody's leaving this room now, are they? Until everybody donates, because I'm going to India for New Year. And went to India with an ex-partner of mine, and we went round 3 different orphanages. And we knew we had some money to donate, but we didn't tell them. And we just inspected the orphanages. We also took pens and, you know, little things that meant, you know, toys, pens, paper, colouring pads, and delivered all that. And for me, it was very important to try and help people. And we found an orphanage called the Sharon Orphanage and really liked what they were doing. And I think they were, at the time, were in a rented accommodation and they could only house so many children. And we spent a couple of hours there and it was really fun and fulfilling. And we actually donated in the end about £15,000, which is about, $20,000 to that orphanage. And then, you know, they sent letters saying that they'd got international adoption license and now kids were being adopted out to America, to France. So just doing something small was great. But I'm still, you know, I still try and support MediCinema in the UK, which is a cinema that puts, it's a charity that puts cinemas in hospitals. So, you know, I still want to do what I can do. You've been living in LA since 2011. That's a big move. What inspired you to that dramatic change? Deep down, I think I always knew I was going to come to LA because I first came to LA the year I was Miss Great Britain. And I came here thinking maybe I would transfer my last year of my degree to UCLA. And I spent about 3 months in LA at the age of, what would I have been, 20 or 21? And I was too young. And it would have eaten me up. And I toyed with the idea of coming back and forth to LA for easily the 10 years. And it got to a point where, while I was hosting the game shows, and because I'd always been known as a beauty queen, I think I was very much stereotyped in the entertainment world in the UK. And I think the opportunities in London are a lot smaller. Whereas when you come to LA, you can really prove yourself and you can be seen outside of the box of a TV presenter and host and a beauty queen as maybe an actress. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I went and met with ICM and they said, Liz, we can't sign you as an actress. We don't know you as an actress. You're not even on IMDb. You don't exist. And so 4 years ago, I realized, okay, I need to know what IMDb website is. I need to get all my stuff on there that I've hosted and acted in. And I did meet the hosting agent, Babette Perry, at ICM. And then she moved to IMG, and I stayed in touch with her. And she said, Liz, if I'm going to represent you, I need you in America. So I started the process of my O1 visa, which is a talent visa to get into America. And then I ended up taking over Miss Great Britain, the business, being that kind of strong woman that wanted to see changes and not just see men run beauty pageants. And now, of course, in the UK, it's all women, I think, running the beauty pageants, which is great because it's women looking after women. So I couldn't come the first year of my O1 visa to LA. So I paid for a visa that I didn't use for, I think, 18 months. And then I came to America 2 years ago, and I put my head down. For the first year, I realized if I want to be taken seriously in this town, I need to go to acting classes. You can't just turn up and say, well, I've been acting up all my life. You know, I'm Welsh. I know how to do a sing and a dance and turn up on stage. It's in my blood. And I went to the best, or who I think and considered from speaking to casting directors. I went to Margie Haber and Ivana Chubik and Leslie Kahn, who I loved. And I really put my head down. And for the first year, I thought, you know, I may not earn any money. Let's go through my spendings and go through my savings. And just went to acting school and really try to hone my craft and learn exactly what it means to be in control of your emotions whilst you're in the moment, whilst you're on set. And that's what I did. And now the last year, I've really had some lucky breaks and made some moves into some feature films.
Fantastic. So Liz, you're a really hard worker, and I'm sure you don't get much spare time, but what do you do for fun?
Oh, I have loads of fun. This is Los Angeles. There's a beach just over the 101 or the 10. I go to the beach a lot. I'm from Swansea, and originally I was that surfer girl on stage, so you can't really take the water away from me. I love the beach. I love going down to Zuma and Paradise Cove here. So I spend a lot of time going down there, just hanging out, having maybe a beer at sunset. And I walk my dog. I love tennis, although I haven't really found anyone to play tennis with here yet. I'm really good at tennis, and I'm even better on the Wii. Don't know why, but I can do an ace practically 8 times out of 10 on the Wii tennis, but not in real life. I love going to the canyons, walking. I love going for dinners. I love hosting dinner parties, having people over. I've got into the gym. I've actually lost about 10 pounds from moving to London to living here. So it's a healthier environment. I eat clean. That's not something I did in London.
That's lovely. I mean, wow, it's been just wonderful to hear your story and everything about you, and it's so amazing all the things that you're doing and what you've done, and it's incredible to see your journey from the UK to LA. What's next for Liz Fuller?
More of the same, you know. It depends what turns up. Every week, you know, anything can change in LA. You get a phone call, can you read this script? At the moment, I'm very lucky that a few casting directors have spotted me. They want to work with me. So I've been sent about 10 scripts. It doesn't mean that the money's come in, but it definitely means I'm in a place where I can read very good scripts. And, you know, then I tell my agent what I like, and hopefully, you know, those projects will come through. And I'm waiting for 2 films next year. One film script I discovered, and it's a beautiful, ethical, being on the right side script, one that hopefully influences the public in a great way. So hopefully, you know, the money comes in for that film.
Liz, it's been a pleasure to have you here today on British Invasion LA, and I'm delighted to offer you a British rose to take home with you.
Thank you.
And it's been so wonderful, and I hope you enjoyed your tea.
Thank you. That's so
Thank
lovely.
you very much.
Thank you. Oh, that's not every day I get a rose.
Oh, well.
Should be, right?
It should be. You should get it every day. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just kept giggling about the George Clooney story. Isn't that a riot? I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Clooney at the Britannia Awards a few years back. After my interview with the iconic Miss Great Britain, I caught up with a talented designer, ELISE Christian, for an afternoon tea. I then went to the Buchanan Arms for a refreshing pint. So that's all for British Invasion LA today. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Cheers!